YouTube, talk to me, you pretty motherfuckers. Right from the jump there, I like to take that monetization. I like to just get it out of the way. No monetization for this video. Obviously, we're going to be all right because I'm rich enough to not need it. This is a video for anyone that wants to go to the absolute top. I never thought I'd find myself making a mindset video, but at this point in my life, I have 12 years of business experience. I've fluctuated, I've studied, I've really poured into this mindset stuff kind of by second nature. Like it wasn't always intentional. And I just woke up this morning realizing the importance of it, especially as I interact more with the younger generation. And I want to share my general 2 cents and my take. I hope this is one of those videos that you refer back on years from now and you go like, oh, that was really helpful. And I say that because when I was 21, 22 years old, starting out, anything and everything was possible. I had that innate sense of wonder. I felt like the universe was conspiring in my favor. And I took that all the way to a very successful exit. After that, as I'm preserving my wealth, trying to make smart financial decisions, you learn about logic, rationale, randomness, chance, and all of that stuff. It can be true. And I have other videos on this topic. But if you pour too into that, like being the very matter of fact, the no wonder guy, it starts to ruin mindset. And so now here I am at 32 years old, and I've tapped back into a sense of, magic or wonder, but I'm going to try to distill it in very actionable, straightforward steps for y'all that you can permanently infuse through your life. And as I kind of start out on this, I need to make this comparison that us as humans, the one thing that we have that no one else, that animals don't have, is this self-talk narrative. We have this little voice that more or less shapes our biology. So you have your brain, right? And you have the mental makeup of your brain. There's neuroplasticity, there's neurons, there's dopamine, there's hormones, there's all of these things flowing around in our very, very complicated biochemistry that, to be frank, we know very fucking little about. I could go off on some other tangent here about, just like gene therapy and the complicated nature of our biochemistry. But I'll just say that piece is complicated. But us as humans have this thing called consciousness, which I like to more or less call that voice. We have this voice ticking in our head telling us some sort of narrative throughout the day. And when you distill one of the great philosophical quotes of all time, I think, therefore I am. I believe that's it. This video is just me raw to you, but I believe that's it. I think, therefore I am. That starts to make sense. That self-talk voice, that little narrative in our head, it shapes all of our biology, right? I mean, there's miraculous stories about humans curing themselves from disease because of what they think up here. And it's very easy to discredit that. And especially as we get older, right? Things happen. I'll use an example. You get older, you slow down, or you get tired. That's like the common narrative pushed forward. So you begin to tell yourself that every day. And that little voice in your mind, incredible changes don't happen overnight. They're incremental. So if you tell yourself, I'm getting tired every single day, every single year, indefinitely, prolonged, forward and forward, eventually you're going to be going to sleep at 7, 8 p.m., right? With no energy left from the day. But what do you think happens if you reframe everything and you train yourself to say, I don't get tired? Or you just constantly listen to Kevin Gates, I don't get tired, and you keep that going every single day into the future. I guarantee you, if you have a control group, if you run a scientific experiment on it, you are going to see the group that tells themselves that they're not tired every single day have dramatically more energy at the end of that finish line. And I'll tell a personal story here real quick too about my father, my dad. He's one of those guys that growing up, he almost got clowned on a little bit for being like overly positive. Like he was the, like Mr. Can Do, anything's always going well. And it would almost be like comical. Like shit would be burning around him and you'd ask him something and he'd be like, no, things are good. We're going to go make some sales. Like he's a sales guy by nature. And he was always like this. And my dad started from, he was born in a tent in Tennessee. Mom was 15 years old, single, first son of 5, basically had to take care of the house, build himself up from nothing. Eventually in his later years of life, became a millionaire, started his own company, bought a bunch of real estate, like the traditional American dream, like no college education, none of it, self-taught, really, like, again, not an educated individual, but I really believe that mindset piece is at the center of all of it. That brought him to a certain point. Now, fast forward, he's mid-60s. And I see this with my wife's parents too. I see this with all older people as they start to slow down. Their internal dialogue, their internal narrative completely changes. My dad had a bad accident a couple years ago, and he's been like trying to get out of his last business for a while, sell it to his employees. It's been dragging on. He's had a lot of shit really go wrong. And every time I'm around him now, I hear that internal narrative. It's not the same thing. It's not Mr. Can Do. It's not Mr. Positive. It's I'm tired. I don't want to do this anymore. And look, like, that's the reality of the world. The world puts a lot of pressure on us. The world puts a lot of stress on us. But I've seen that change his result. I've seen that change his aura. And it happens like without us being able to control it a lot of the time. You know what I mean? And it happens, again, refer back to what I said previously. It's not like you just start telling yourself something one day and it all changes. It's accumulation of you telling yourself that every single day. And the more that shifts towards the negative, the worse your life ultimately becomes. Let me repeat that. The more you shift towards the negative, the worse your life ultimately becomes. Despite all of the things around you, you really succumb to that. And so as I set out on framing mindset and framing power, I've said this before. The only difference between a billionaire and the average person is their ability to handle way more stress. And so you look at a guy, a good example right now is former President Donald Trump. He walks in to UFC 302 last night. We're watching this. He was prosecuted 10 days before in New York. This is not political content. This is just me restating events that just happened. And he was prosecuted, felony. He's going to jail. And that man walks into New Jersey, and the only thing playing in his mind is I am the motherfucking man. Okay? And you can love that guy. People love him for it, or you can hate that guy. People hate him for it. But that internal dialogue has powered this dude to 70. He's 70 years old. Is he 70? Something like that? 68, 72? I don't know. He's old. And he is a freight train, like a true locomotive, force of nature, going for another presidential campaign with lawsuits and businesses and all of this stuff just hammering him, right? And the superpower at the center of all of that is right here between the ears. That is the superpower at the center of this. And so a lot of my content and my approach to life, I really think we can step in to becoming him. When you talk about maxing out your stats, when you talk about life maxing, all of that shit, it is you building these blocks mentally, physically. Not to get too sidetracked, but there's another book I like called Psycho-Cybernetics. I don't think you need to read the whole book, honestly. Spark notes it. But it's written by a plastic surgeon who basically shows that when people become more attractive, they like themselves more when they look in the mirror, they do better in life. And that's all part of that same internal narrative. You are better off when you wake up every single morning and you tell yourself, I am fucking him. I am fucking him every morning. Because what do you have to lose by telling yourself anything else? Brainwash yourself. Slowly mesmerize and build what you are trying to become. I am him. There's Drake lines, I knew I was the man before I even said it. You have to have that belief. And there's another guy you can't mention on this app, stuck over in Romania. Another great example of this. Throw the world at him. Let me use those challenges to better handle stress, better become iron mentally, and continue to build. And he had a video that resonated with me too, where he's just like, There's zero loss in this. Your quality of life is better and dictated by this. I mean, whether you're in the Bugatti yet or not, what goes on up here dictates your quality of life. You could be in the Bugatti with a weak ass mind and be depressed as fuck. Or you can be in that moment having sharpened this in a particular way that your happiness and your mood and who you are depends on you. And so, with all of that, I just want to leave you guys with this up here. It's really all you have. It really is all you have. Because at the end of all of this, it is you, your body, your mind, and that's what you have. And that's what you'll take to the grave. And your best relationships and all the things you have and all of that, it will one day be gone. It will one day not be with you. And it will be you versus you. It'll be you and you at the gates of heaven, if that's what you believe, talking to God. And I think every single day, so I'll leave you with this too. The natural negative thoughts creep in. And if you train yourself to basically choke them, execute them on the spot, every time defeat or negative energy creeps into your life, just Muay Thai that bitch, shoot it, whatever you need to do to knock that down and replay your internal narrative, your internal mantra, your internal chant, the better off your life will get. That's why tools like journaling are very helpful. Our minds are impressionable in the morning. How you set your intention and tone for the day does cumulatively add up. And you can get to the point. I don't think Trump sits there and journals in the morning. I think it's such second nature to that man that he's rocking forward, right? But you might need to build those habits. You might need to journal. You might need to practice some CBT, But all that being said, if you make that investment into this for life, the compounding returns you will see over 6 months. Give it 6 months. See what happens with 6 months of no negative self-talk. See what happens to your bank account. See what happens to your relationship. See what happens to your business. If you do that for 6 months, watch, and it'll become so addicting. At that point, you only have to watch out for catastrophic negative events because life fucking happens. I'm 32 years old. I know crazy things will happen in my life. It's inevitable. Zoom out. It is inevitable. Crazy negative things will happen. And having the mindset to go through those things, not go up and over them, go through those things, right? You're getting convicted felon. You're still running for president. You're in jail in Romania and you're still coming out firing, That's what defines you as an individual. And so bless the fuck up with that. We're all favored. And I hope you enjoyed this video. For real, like, comment, subscribe, share, whatever.